Hey guys, I'm back again to talk about the second topic that will appear on your cram on Monday. Cram number 5, remember we're skipping cram number 4, cram number 5 on Monday deals with the English Civil War and the Glorious Revolution. So the context is after the fall of Rome, Europe entered the Dark Ages, and all those ideas of democracy and individual rights and people's participation in government all went down the drain. And kings and monarchies and dictators arose in Europe during the Dark Ages, and we find ourselves in 1600s in England, and we're about ready to talk about the Glorious Revolution. But what else is going on in Europe in the 1600s? Well, down south near Turkey, you've got the Ottoman Empire. Up in the Austria-Hungary region, you have the Austro-Hungarian Empire. You have what's called the Holy Roman Empire, which really isn't Roman, and it's up in the Germany area. You have the country of France, you have the country of Spain, again, all monarchies. And most of them consider themselves divine right, where their authority comes from God and the people don't have any rights at all and they are not subject to laws. So England is really the first country to start to challenge that notion with the English Civil War. Parliament was victorious, the king was beheaded, and now what are we going to do? Okay, so this next section is called the Glorious Revolution. It's also called the Bloodless War because there actually was not a war fought and no lives were lost. So the question that I pose to frame the Glorious Revolution in England is, why would a Dutch prince and his wife be asked to come be the king and queen of England? Well, number one, the king did have a connection to English royalty. So even though he was Dutch, he did have a connection to that lineage. However, the real reason that Parliament, the lawmaking body in England, went out and plucked a guy out of the Netherlands and his wife and just said, you guys are going to be the king and queen of England. And the real reason that they did that is that they were going to obey Parliament and do whatever Parliament said. The English Civil War had been won by Parliament. The king's army was defeated, and now Parliament kind of felt like they had a lot of power. So they installed a new king and queen, and look at this reason right here. Because they were Protestant, and Parliament wanted them to make sure that England would be completely Protestant. In the previous video, I mentioned this conflict between Catholics and Protestants in England. Well, the Parliament in England wanted a Protestant king and queen, one that would make the whole country of England Protestant. And that's one of the reasons that they brought the guy in. The second reason, because they were going to sign the Bill of Rights. This Dutch prince and his wife, who are now the king and queen of England, were going to make England Protestant, and then they were going to sign the Bill of Rights. Now, what is the Bill of Rights? Okay, the English Bill of Rights created a constitutional monarchy in England, meaning the king or queen acts as head of the state, but his or her powers are limited by law. That's a real key there. They're limited by law. Under this system, the monarchy couldn't rule without the consent of Parliament, and people were given individual rights. For example, freedom to elect members of Parliament without the king or queen's interference, freedom of speech, freedom from royal interference with the law, freedom to petition the king or approach the king, freedom to bear arms in self-defense. So the significance of the Glorious Revolution was one thing to kind of stamp England as a Protestant country, and over 400 years later, England is predominantly a Protestant country. Again, Protestantism is a branch of Christianity. And secondly, the Glorious Revolution brought in this document called the English Bill of Rights, which created a constitutional monarchy in England, and it made the king and queen subject to laws and the Constitution. That was a bit of a shorter video, though, and see you guys on Tuesday. Bye-bye.